So this learning inventory is the student learning style scales inventory. And this speaks to what kinds of social environments students prefer to work in, whether it be in groups or alone, or in a combination of the two. Certain time spent in each part of the period, either alone or as a large class or in individualized groups. It also measures for personal student motivation in the classroom by asking students what kinds of things they like to do in the classroom, whether it be filling out charts and diagrams, working on projects, working with apps, things like that. The terms used are called student learning behavioral preferences. But again, it's important to understand the validity of these things. So a study done in Turkey and a teaching university found that teachers that either mix or separate students with different social preferences did not really have a specific effect on their grades. So I think the most important thing to keep together, to keep in mind here, is that while students may say that they prefer to work either alone or in groups, the best way to find out how well students do this is actually to kind of pair them off into these groups. And I think a lot of the times teachers need to keep in mind, and I think a lot of teachers do, what personal learning styles each student has, and not necessarily what kinds of specific social type skills that they prefer to have. So students' behavioral things, you might not want to stick, 3 or 4 students together that are very talkative. They're not going to really necessarily get as much done as the group of students that are a lot more studious and a lot more attentive to their work. So I think that the main thing is understanding your classroom's culture first, and then group according to that. And that would kind of help group students in a better way. So again, the validity of these is really important to keep in mind. And I kind of wanted to present a couple of them, of the learning inventories that really kind of made you think about certain things in your classroom and in your classroom culture, but at the same sense are not necessarily ones that I would use in my classroom based on studies that I've found about those kinds of learning style inventories.